My father didn't want me to go into this business. He said, what are you doing? You want to be an actor? He said, are you kidding me? There's a lot of times I've been on set and I'm like, I'll do it. And that director says,
was that good? Yeah, right.
Tells me nothing. And I'm like, did he like it? Did you want it?
Right. Is it going to get cut? Is it going to go in?
On? And I'm like, we're moving on. Was it because I sucked? Or was it because it was that good, that quick? As a director, you're everything. You're like a parent. You're like a therapist. You're like a priest. You really, you wouldn't believe how many things people come to me with.
Welcome to Bare Wires, where we have unfiltered conversation for curious people. My name is Brian Heyman. I'll be your host tonight. Tonight we have a special guest, Paul Borghese, a working actor out of Rockland County who's done a litany of parts in many, many series and movies. Actually, he's been on the stage also. Paul's been involved with this business, all facets of it, and we'll get into that tonight. Thanks for coming, Paul. I appreciate it.
Oh, I'm happy to be here, Brian. Thanks for having me.
So we're going to start this way we start most of them, and that's in the beginning. And I know you get these questions on other podcasts. I've actually watched some of your other podcasts that have done very well. You were born in New York, right?
I was born in the Bronx.
In the Bronx. Yeah. So that gives you credibility already for this, right? Whether you were there for a day or a year, it doesn't matter. You were born in the Bronx, that's all you have to say.
Well, how about this? Even though I moved out of the Bronx at 9 years old, our family business was there for almost 100 years
so
in the middle of the Bronx.
It sinked in. And so then you moved, did you go to school there at all?
County. Yeah, I went to I was in the middle of third grade in grammar school when we moved from the Bronx to Rockland County.
Was it traumatic for you leaving school and everything at that age?
I was going to a very strict Catholic school.
Right.
So I don't think that I felt it all that much. It's just I was very excited. It was like we were moving to the country at the time.
And you did.
It was like, to me, it's the suburbs now, but at the time I remember it was, the country. We're moving up to the country. And
you were all for it. You didn't mind leaving the neighborhood or anything.
I don't remember having,
any anxiety or anything?
I remember it being exciting and fun. Sharing a room with my sister at the time, who was 2 years younger than me, in a small house in the Bronx on Baychester Avenue, which was very Italian at the time, but isn't anymore. And then, we came here. I had my own room.
Oh, so you're moving up. You were moving up.
My own TV. The first night I
remember watching a lot of room around you.
Special. It was great.
Good. And then you went to school here. You went to Tappan, or?
I went to Tappan Zee High School.
Okay.
And from there, I went to college. I went to Rockland Community Colleges for a couple of years. Then I went up to Cortland State College. And
Familiar
never get college
familiar
done.
with it.
I was having too much fun because I was working as a
bartender, the club, buddy.
And a bouncer, and so I came back to finish college at St. Thomas Aquinas College at Stack.
So when you were in Tappan Zee High School, right? You went to Tappan Zee High School.
Yes.
Did you get involved in acting there? Is there something in the plays you did there, or when did you get the interest? Is it in your family, or did you? At what point did you say, "Hey, this is something that's pretty cool. I want to do"?
The acting, directing, producing, that doesn't run in my family at all.
Okay.
Like I said, our family business was B&G Clothes in the Bronx, which was a men's clothing store, suits, and a men's haberdashery, like very popular, well-known, famous store.
Wow.
On East 187th Street off of Arthur Avenue, which
cool.
So many people know. But I only did one play in high school, and it was because my girlfriend at the time was going to be the makeup artist in the play. And she was like, come on, you got to, come out for the play. So it was Arsenic and Old Lace, and I played Officer Brophy of all characters. I played an Italian cop so many times. And then I played the Irish cop in this. And then from there, I always wanted to be in the business, but it wasn't until I got out of college and actually went into the restaurant business that I just started getting the bug for really wanting to do it. And
so did you do anything while you were in Cortland?
No, not I just partied in Cortland, and the ratio was.
I went to Geneseo, by the way.
Oh, did you?
6 girls, every one guy. So
6, we had 3 to 1, and that was
actually that's what determined finally why I went there. I actually played lacrosse in Geneseo, and I was recruited by Cortland. I visit Cortland, I visit Brockport, being recruited. But when I got to Geneseo, they had no football team, so they weren't going to pressure me to play football. And they had 6 girls every guy, and I said, "Okay, you got me. I'll be here in the fall."
I was a wrestler, from junior high school, part of college. So I wrestled at Cortland, And but then I didn't, after that I didn't continue with the wrestling. But yeah, the ratio was something. Although a lot, phys ed majors now and then might have changed a little bit, but back then a lot of the Cortland females were phys ed majors, so I didn't really.
It's a big school for phys ed.
I didn't consider it a complete 3-to-1 girls to guys. I kind of like
those ratios were a little off.
Yeah, I think I had to adjust that a little bit. Some of them were tougher than me.
So you came back home and you went to St. Thomas?
Yeah, to Stack. I graduated from there.
Did you do any acting there?
Not at Stack, no. I just then it became New York City. It all became Manhattan after that.
All right. So at what point did you say, "Let me give this a try"? What actually put you? What was the first thing you actually did to say, "Let me go try this"?
I opened up a pizza and pasta joint with one of my best friends that I grew up with called Al Paulie's. He's Al, I was Paulie.
In the Bronx?
No, in Rockland County.
Oh, really? We're in Rockland.
Blauvelt, New York.
Okay.
Eventually, I opened up a restaurant in Piermont, New York.
Okay.
But the first one we opened, we did a commercial, like a local cable commercial. And I got very involved in, writing the commercial and what were we going to show and how we were going to shoot it. And my voice was the voiceover. And I just got the bug, and I was like, wow, I love this. I loved every aspect of it. So I went back to school to Center for the Media Arts, which was a film and video production.
Where's that?
It was on West 26th Street.
Oh, so you went back to the city in Manhattan.
Right next to FIT.
And you were commuting back and forth to school?
Yeah, to go to school. And at the same time, I was taking classes at HB Studios on Bank Street.
Very cool.
So it was sort of like I was working on both sides of the camera early on, doing anything and everything I could get my hands on outside of the hours I had to put into the restaurant. And I broke into the business.
So what was the first thing that you did that you said, okay, this is something, you obviously wanted to do, but what was the first role that you had that you said, wow, this is worth doing? I think I want to, what was the first role that you said legitimized you going into this business, where you actually got paid to do it?
That's a good question. I think I felt that I don't remember what the first thing I did on camera was, but I think I felt that from the very first thing I did, whether I got paid or not, because you really have to, put a lot in the way of not paid work, like as an actor and even in production in the beginning. Because if you're not in the Screen Actors Guild as an actor in the union, you're going to be doing non-union extra work in the beginning if you're trying to break in. So I was doing that in the beginning. And I mean, as soon as I was on like the biggest of sets, like huge movies, like Working Girl, I think was one of the earlier ones I did. Remember with Melanie Griffith and famous actor, I forget his name. He's in all the Romancing in the Stone movies and all that.
Mike Douglas?
No, not Mike Douglas. Or maybe I'm thinking of Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Okay.
Why am I blanking?
Harrison Ford. Right. Thank you, engineer.
We have an audience here.
Thank you, Mario. Well, shout out to Mario.
There's so many more seats in your audience since I got here last time. I was here last time.
So
I just was walking with a briefcase and glass, looking like and it was shot in the World Trade Center in Twin Towers. So I'm walking through the lobby, but I had to I'd always look for the camera. Where's the camera? And look for the main talent. That's where the money is. And I walked right through and past them, and it's like right on camera. If you watch that movie, you see me.
Wow.
I got paid very little as a non-union extra, but it was so exciting for me, and I was happy to be there.
All right, so now you have the bug, and when people talk about acting and becoming an actor, and they forget about all the hard stuff, but there's kind of like a wall, where you're on one side for the longest time. And then all of a sudden you get a role, or you do a piece, or I talked to Richard Gore, who did the Food Network and stuff like that. He explained it to me. All of a sudden you are on the outside, and there's this one little thing that turns, and you realize you're on the inside now. Did that ever happen to you, where you said to yourself, "Okay, I've been on the outside. No one really cares about me, but I did this one thing, and now I feel like I'm on the inside. I have some credibility."
I think there's different levels of it.
Okay.
I mean, there's something that we call in the industry as a crossover. Like, I've crossed over.
Okay.
I still don't feel like I've crossed over because we all know, we see what Hollywood's like now, and there's this like club, this closed club, and it's all the same people working all the time, and it's just the elite and the, it's like it's hard to break into that, and a lot more goes into that as we're all starting to understand, other than just talent. So, and I'm not willing to give up or sacrifice a lot of things that they say you have to get in there. So I'm just a regular guy. But I remember early on, there were different levels, like getting my Screen Actors Guild card, earning your way as a member of the union was hard. So when I got my Screen Actors Guild card, I felt like I've arrived. Now I'll be considered to take it more seriously. I'll be able to audition for, bigger parts and roles. And even if I was still doing any of the extra work, which I stopped pretty soon, your pay scale goes up. You start contributing towards a pension and health benefits and all those kind of things. So that was a big stepping stone. But I think, acting-wise, talent-wise, career-wise, when I directed as an actor, I had done a lot of work. But when I did HBO 61 and I played Yogi Berra in that was a really mainstream movie for HBO to release, and I was playing someone who was a baseball icon,
Absolutely.
Yogi Berra. So that was a very, very big deal to me. Did it take me to the levels that I thought it would after that? No, it didn't. But it's okay because
was that a West Coast filming group that did that movie, HBO?
Well, it was HBO New York.
Right, I know they did. They filmed it. Right,
they filmed most of it. Well, we shot a lot of it on the West Coast. We shot a lot of it at the old Oakland Raiders Stadium for the baseball away games, and then they used the Tiger Stadium in Detroit, the old one that got torn down. They used that as Yankee Stadium, and then with CGI they put all the trellis up and made it look like because Yankee Stadium had the new one.
They had CGI that advanced way back then.
Yeah, well, if you see the movie. To me,
I've seen scenes of it.
It looks fantastic.
Because I was a big Yankee fan. Little story. I was laying down with my daughter, who's probably 38 now, watching cartoons, and it was 1996, and they were coming back to Yankee Stadium. I had a friend down there called the Broom. He was a cop down there, and he knew everybody at Yankee Stadium, everybody. So he lived 2 houses away from me. So I'm laying there watching cartoons, and I was supposed to go to a Halloween party that night. And I said, man, I really want to go to this game, because I was a huge Yankee fan. So I called Tommy. His name's Tommy Gavin. Shout out to Tommy Gavin. And his wife says, oh, Tommy just left for work. I said, no, she goes, what do you need? I said, nah, it's no big deal. I said, I didn't even want to tell her. So next thing I hear, knock on the door, and my wife yells, hey, like I said, I was watching cartoons with my daughter. Tommy's here. And I'm like, Tommy, what? I thought he left to go to work. I go down, I said, Tommy, I thought you went to work. He goes, yeah, my wife called me. She said you were looking for something, so I just turned around. I wasn't that far, came back. I said, well, I'm embarrassed. I said, I'm looking for 2 tickets to the World Series game.
The World Series?
Right. This is the World. This is the World. No, this is the sixth game of the World Series. I said to him, what are the chances of me scalping tickets? I had my own business. I had a little money. I'd like to scalp tickets. He go and like a cow looking at a passenger train. He looked at me. He goes, you need tickets? I said, yeah. He goes, I'll get you tickets. Don't worry about it. Just come down.
Wow.
I went down with my wife. We didn't sit together. We were on the first level. I took the furthest seat closest to the field. I want to admit that. And she was about 4 rows behind, and we both had end seats. But I was at that game when they won the World Series, the 6th game. And I can remember like it was yesterday. The place was shaking so much. Boggs riding the horse, Hayes making the last out in foul territory, the whole 9 yards, Wetland, all the guys. And I was saying to myself, I can't believe I'm here, So we went out, the stadium was shaking. We finally get out underneath the trestle, and you think the trestle's coming up. People are just going nuts, because they never thought they were going to beat the Braves, but they did in 6 games, And that year, right after that, I said, okay, I'm buying season tickets. And I had season tickets from that season all the way through that run.
Wow.
I was right on the third base line because that game convinced me to go out and buy season tickets I had. So I saw more playoff games and more World Series games. And I saw the World Series against the Mets. I grew up with a guy who was a Met fan. And I said to him when we were kids, I said, listen, if the Yankees ever play the Mets, I'll buy tickets to go to the game. And wouldn't you know, the Yankees are playing the Mets. I called him up. I said, listen, remember when I told you, like 13 years old that I'd get you into this game? Eddie Dwyer is his name. And he goes, yeah. I said, well, you're going to the game. And that game went to almost 2 o'clock in the morning, if you remember, at Yankee Stadium. So that's my Yankees story. But I was always a fan of Yankees. And when I looked at clips. I didn't watch the whole HBO thing, but I looked at clips, and it brought back memories. I wasn't really a hardcore fan back then when Yogi Berra was there. I was just a toddler. I was born in 58, so I didn't see a lot of it. But I became a real hardcore Yankee fan during that period, So that's my Yankee story. I wanted to throw it out there before you went too far with Yogi Berra.
Yeah, but I mean, that's great that you got to see all those games.
I was just lucky. I bought the tickets at the right time. They went on that run. It was just incredible after that. They were in almost every playoff, every World Series. They didn't win them all, but they were always there. So I got to see a lot of great games. But when you did that movie, you probably thought, okay, I play this unbelievable role of Yogi Berra. Where's that going to take me, right? You probably said to yourself, okay, this is going to take me to another level. When you were done with it, did that happen?
No, that's what I was saying. I mean, a lot of things happened right directly after that. I mean, when it first happened and I first got the role, I was just in the moment of that I got that. Actually, I thought it was long gone because time had passed. And then I was in LA at the time, and my agent at the time called me and said, "Oh, by the way, I was calling. You booked that movie." I was like, "Which movie?" Because I go on a lot of auditions. the baseball one.
He didn't know.
Baseball one. Like, it was a woman. Her name was Ann Wright.
Okay.
She's not with us anymore. She was on in her career and years. And I was like, the baseball movie. I go, wait. I said, 61, the one with playing Yogi Berra. She goes, yeah, that one. Like, she wasn't even like as, and I said, oh, you got to be kidding me, really? She goes, yeah, the one Billy Crystal's directing. And I'm like, so I was so excited, and then when I got back, there were so many things that happened with HBO between getting together with Billy Crystal again.
Right.
They wanted me to meet Yogi Berra and get to know Yogi better, which was
no, I mean, it just doors open up with the Yankees, the whole mystique of it,
with the Yankees or the career? Oh, with the Yankees.
Yeah.
I thought you meant the
No, I did. I meant the career. But when you're doing that movie, you're exposed to all the old Yankee history, which is
that was
the best in baseball.
That opened up a huge door to that because a number of things happened. For one, I got very friendly with Barry Pepper. We became very, very good friends. Barry played Roger Maris in the movie. And we started getting invited right after we did the movie to the Roger Maris Celebrity Golf Tournament in Fargo, North Dakota. I'm not a golfer, but Barry and I went like 6 years in a row. And it was great because, they flew us out there. And we were there with all these, the old school,
Yankees,
ball players. They were there and they kept showing up because, they were trying to raise money, for cancer. So, they would all show up and come, and so we got to meet a lot of these old guys.
That's great.
Whitey Ford, it was just even football players that when I was a kid, I was in awe of, and here I was like, hanging out with them and on the golf course and all that kind of stuff.
Did you ever read the book, You Could Have Made Us Proud?
No.
Okay. If you ever have a chance, I want you to pick up this book.
I don't read a lot of books,
well,
unfortunately.
No, but this one is worth it. It's about Joe Pepitone. Okay, remember Joe Pepitone? Sure, he was the first baseman for the Yankees, and he was an unbelievable ball player. And the book is about him being Italian, and the Italians wanted him to be such a superstar, and that's why the book is You Could Have Made Us Proud. But Joe Pepitone, along with Mickey Mantle and a bunch of them, they go through all these stories of, going out all night. They went up to West Point for an exhibition game. They fell out of the car, the whole 9 yards. But if you get a chance, I read that such a long time ago. It's a great book. It's called You Could Have Made Us Proud. It's about Joe Pepitone. So
really,
it's pretty cool. Like I said, I was a big Yankee fan. I don't watch him as much as I used to, but I kind of went to hockey now, so I watch a lot of hockey.
Yeah, no, but to finish answering your question. There were a lot of things that were happening at Yankee Stadium that I was getting invited to. Like they actually had a 61 day named after the movie where they gave everybody that came in a 61 hat.
Wow.
And a 61 bat. And so I was there, in the luxury suite, and they brought us out on the field. They announced our names. So there were a lot of things. And then by getting very friendly with Yogi Berra and his family, there's the Yogi Berra Museum in Montclair, New Jersey.
Yeah,
I started getting invited to different events at the Yogi Berra Museum, and at Yogi's request, and I would show up, of course, to anything that Yogi would ask me to do. And they had a big screening of '61, a fundraiser at the Yogi Berra Museum because there's a theater there. So I got
it's a pretty extensive museum.
Friendly with his family, and and the big premiere that HBO had a huge premiere for the movie '61, and normally the Yankees that were playing currently at the time, like Derek Jeter, for example. I would be in awe of if I was at the stadium and to try to get their attention, let's say. But these guys, the audience, because they're all friendly with Billy Crystal because he's such a baseball fanatic, and they're coming up to me, after the movie saying, "Hey, Paul, hey, great job playing Yogi," shaking my hand. You did a really good job, and I'm like, Derek Jeter.
That's got to be something else.
I'm a big fan of yours too. That was cool, and I was married at the time. I'm not married anymore, but my ex-wife was like.
No, I know that had to be almost a surreal trip when these guys, especially Derek Jeter, one of my favorite players. So, all these guys, they were just unbelievable. Mariano Rivera, all these guys they won so many games. It was just incredible. It was almost guaranteed that they were going to be in the playoffs, if not win the World Series. Yeah. Now, after that. You were going to auditions. Did the audition stop, and did people call you and say, "Listen, we want you for this part, and we want you for that part"? How did that? When did you stop going to auditions and actually have people call you to set up for? Listen, we have a role for you. You're interested in playing it.
It's almost always mixed.
Okay.
Even when people cross over, as we talk about, there are times that even if you're super well known and you have a lot of work under your belt, that a director will just want to see somebody in that role because it might be a little more of a stretch for someone. So I think sometimes if it's like an obvious, this guy's done this, you could do this with his eyes closed, but when it's something that might be a little different, I think they're going to want to. So I have friends that are well above me in the industry of what they've done in the way of work and their clout, and they're still reading for parts.
Really?
Yeah, because
that's unbelievable.
Sometimes not 100% sure. So I have gotten offered a lot of roles that, some I've turned down, but I've gotten offered a lot. Just basically, this is the offer, this is the role, this is how much it pays. Will you do it? My agent will call me. But still, there's a lot. I just auditioned last week for a movie. Believe it or not, doing another mob movie. It's called Gambino, and Nicolas Cage is playing Gambino.
Wow!
And I was called into audition 5 scenes. I'm waiting to hear back. And
let me ask you. Acting's such a hit and miss thing. What do you do? You're an actor. This is what you love to do. This is what you want to do. But I'm sure there's fits and starts. There's gaps there that you may not be working for a little while. This must be like a pressure-packed situation because this is how you make your living. And you're a working actor. And there may be, I don't know how much time goes between one role or the other, but if you don't, let's say this role you don't get it, and all of a sudden there's a time frame that you're not working. It's got to be difficult to do that.
Time frames in between work a lot of times. But the thing with me is that, because I wear different hats, I'm an actor, I'm a producer, I'm a director, I'm a writer.
Yeah, I want to get into that.
A lot of times, I'm concentrating. If I'm directing a feature film, I'm focusing on that, and I'm not even really auditioning or taking the other work unless it could be squeezed in. So for me, I've been lucky in that way, but it's very, very tough. there's a fraction, very small percentile of actors that actually make a living acting.
Yeah. So when you got in, so you're getting in producing, directing, screenplays, things like that. Is that better? Is that more constant work? Do you have more control over your life at that point? Or
I don't think you ever have control over your life in this industry or when you're in this business, unless, if you take a job with like an HBO and you're working for them and you're getting a salary and all this stuff and you think it's a secure job. But when you're independent and freelance, you really never know what's next.
So when you're directing movies, is it easier to direct than it is to act? Or is it more difficult to direct and act?
Two completely different animals. The thing is with the thing I like about people always ask me, what do you like more?
Right.
The thing I like about directing is that you're involved in every aspect of the production. If you're looking at that frame, everything that's on that frame, someone's come to you to say, is this color okay with you? Is that shirt okay with you? Is this lighting okay? How would you like this to go? What lens do you want to use? So I like that you're involved in every aspect, creatively. With acting, there's a lot of hurry up and wait around.
Right.
But sometimes I like just saying, okay, well, I'm working 3 days on this project. Let me learn my lines. Let me rehearse. I go, I do my job, I go home, and I'm done.
Okay.
You know, but with the directing, if you're on a feature film, you're going to be thinking about and dealing with and working on that for probably between 2 and 3 years, between the beginnings of it, the pre-production, production, post-production, you know, marketing, distribution, you know.
So when you look at it, when you're directing, do you feel like you have a better insight into actors since you're an actor that you kind of feel?
Yeah. As a matter of fact, a lot of actors have told me that they find me to be, they've called me like a director's actor because every director is different. I like very, very much to work with the actors, and like I'm a storyteller. So I like getting in the trenches with the actors and making them comfortable.
Okay.
And saying, hey, you know, like, what if we try this? And, you know, I'm always coming from back behind the monitor and coming on set and whispering in the actor's ear and say, hey, you know, that was great, but why don't you try it a little bit like this, see if, you know, and sometimes they'll be like, wow, I'm so good you said that. I didn't even think of that. And I'm like, but I want it to be like it's their creation.
I could see that could be very beneficial to them, especially since you've been there. Or did you ever get in a position where you're telling an actor like this, you worked with some very established actors, will like look at you go, hey man, I've been doing this a long time. You know, what are you telling me? Did you ever run into that?
Because,
they're very open to taking.
I'm sensitive to that. I can tell when listen, I've directed, you know, Alec Baldwin, Danny Glover.
There's a couple right off the bat that I would.
Michael Madsen. I could almost
excellent actor, by the way.
I could go on and on, you know, about, you know, some of these actors, but you know, you get a feel for what they're open to and not open to.
Really,
and sometimes they'll actually, you know, like say to you, Paul, you got any notes?
Okay.
And if they say, yeah, you know something, as a matter of fact, you know, but I've never ever had anybody negatively respond to my direction, but I know where my place is in it. Like I know that there's a certain.
You pick that up right away when you walk on set. You start to figure out who's receptive and who isn't.
I met with them before.
Okay.
I will have had lunch or dinner with them.
Okay.
People like that, talk to them. It's never where they're just gonna show up on set. It's like, hey, I'm Paul Borghese. You know, Paul meet, you know, Alec Baldwin. So we would talk a little bit about it.
So you get a feel.
And you know what? Listen, the best thing is if the writing's good and the actors are good, I mean, so much of your job is being done already. So if somebody's giving me a great performance, I'm not going to have to give that much. But I mean, some directors are very technically oriented. You know, they're very technical, and they're not really communicating with the actors that much. And sometimes the actors want more feedback, and they're not getting it. There's a lot of times I've been on set, and I'm like, I'll do it, and that director says,
was that good? Yeah, right.
Tells me nothing, and I'm like, did he like it? Did you want it?
You know, is it going to get cut? Is it going to go in?
On? And I'm like, we're moving on. Was it because I sucked? Or was it because it was that good, that quick?
And,
you know?
I know. And, you know, you're exposed like that. And you always want that feedback to say, hey, listen, because you don't know. You're in front of the camera. You don't know if you did a good job or not. You assume that you did a good job. And you were hoping that you could, but you definitely need that feedback.
Actors are very sensitive and vulnerable. So when they, you know, put themselves in that place, they want the feedback and the acknowledgement. Some actors, they just think they nailed it. They don't want to hear what anybody has to say. But most actors, you know, want that sort of.
So all the actors that you work with, who was the easiest work? Who was most fun to work with? The easiest to work with?
Oh wow, that's hard to say. Well, my cousin.
Give me a couple then.
My cousin Tony Darrow, who you all know from, he's been in so many movies, but in Goodfellas, he was Sonny Buns. He owned the bar where Pesci breaks the bottle over his head. And sit down with Paul Sorvino about taking a piece of place. We've worked. His real last name is Borghese, like me. They changed his name back. He's much older than me. They changed his name back in the day. His manager says, Borghese, it's too many syllables. We're going to call you Tony Darrow, Darrow. Okay. It's like, okay. But we've worked on so many projects together. We always have so much fun because Tony's also a comedian. You know, he's got a great sense of humor. So we've had so much fun together. But I mean, outside of somebody that's family, I don't know. I mean, I've worked a lot with William DeMeo. I've directed a lot of his movies. You know, we've acted together. So we've had a lot of fun together on the set. But as far as someone who I just worked for, like say, a short spurt period of time.
Well, you were directing. Someone you were directing.
Directing that, I mean, someone who was just a great collaborator and very generous with the work we were doing was Armand Assante.
Okay, I've known, very good actor, by the way.
He just was a pleasure to work with. and just so generous in his work. And what more can I do? And could we try?
That must be nice
we had
to work
a lot
with.
of laughs too.
So if I was to ask you, and you can answer this, so you don't want to, that's fine too. Who is the most difficult actor you ever worked with? And I got a couple in my mind because I did look up all these actors that you worked with, and I went through them. And I said, well, I'm wondering how it went with this guy and this guy.
Nobody was ever really all that difficult with me.
The right answer.
As a director, personally. And that's truthful.
Okay.
Cooperative in the way of, let's say, maybe a script that I didn't write, in the way of looking to do something different.
Right, okay.
So I won't mention one actor's name, but I can tell you that he's big and he's not with us anymore. He was a little complicated to deal with, but I would never say the name.
Right, no problem.
And there's an actress who, again, very well known, that didn't have a problem with me. I didn't have a problem with her, but and has done huge stuff and is doing huge stuff now, that just had this thing about the script. And she would say, okay, so can you come in my trailer? Could we talk? She said, so we know we're not going to do this, right? So what are we going to do? Can we work on this together?
Wow.
And I'm like, the producer wrote this. I was like, there's only so much I could do. I can't just change everything. Oh, come on. We do this for every scene. Come on, sit with me.
Wow.
And then I would have to try to finesse between her and the writer producer to be like,
that's your job. You're in the middle there.
You're in the trailer for so long. You didn't even take
What
your lunch
happens
break.
if the producer walks out and sees the scene that he wrote and it's totally different?
Well, I'll discuss it with them first. Say, listen, she wants to do this, she wants to do that. And I'll go, all right, well, I'm okay with this, but I gotta have that the same.
Right.
And that's gotta be said so you're, as a director, you're everything. You're like a parent, you're like a therapist, you're like a priest. You really, you wouldn't believe how many things people come to me with in the course
Are they
of the
very
film.
needy actors and actresses and actresses?
Some are needy and some are just, they do their thing, they're professional, they want to get in and out, they want to do their thing and go.
Cool.
And some drag things out.
So I want to talk about financing of these movies. It's people see movies, they really don't know what it takes to make a movie. People talk about these $100 million movies and stuff, but you've done a lot of independent movies, and for different, and you play different roles in a director, whatever, producer. How do these independent movies get financed?
There's a lot of different ways. I mean, most of the independent films within, in the lower budget independent films.
What do you consider lower budget?
Well, in an independent film?
Yeah.
People are trying to make movies for so little money, which I don't even, I'm not saying this I'm above anything, but I don't even consider them movies.
Okay.
There's a lot of, you'll see people on Facebook and it's like, oh, we're shooting a film, we're making a movie. And then, I could just tell.
I'm talking about real productions.
Right. If you can do a real production with a real team, a professional cast and all that, you don't want to, I don't think, do anything for less than $500,000, which is also very little money. And that's pulling in a lot of favors. A lot of favors. Me personally, I wouldn't want to go back there again. I mean, I've directed short films, pilot demos, feature films in all budget ranges, but I don't think I've ever directed a feature film with less than a $500,000 budget, and I haven't directed a feature film with more than a $4 million budget. But when you're independent, if you don't have a deal in advance, you're at the mercy of the distributors. So if you spend too much money...
That was my next question. My next question is, how do you get a return on that? Or do you get a return on it?
Yeah, some do. A lot of good films haven't seen the light of day.
Right. That's what I mean. So that money flows, and you're really just rolling the dice whether that's going to hit or not.
It's changed a lot now. I mean, because before we had, your first hope would be to do some type of theatrical release.
Right.
You'd hope for, which is very hard to get a distributor to support that. And then, of course, at the time, we used to have VHS releases. Then it turned into DVD. You had all the video stores, and the Blockbusters, And then now you don't have any of that anymore.
But you do have streaming.
Well, now you have streaming, but it's changed in that, you can't get on just any streaming platform. Right. Some platforms you can just get on, but the platforms aren't really promoting your movie. unless you're a big movie and they want to promote it. So you're having to then do your own marketing and grassroots marketing and social media, which now we have social media to help promote it. If you notice, there's not a lot of commercials on television about movies. We always used to see the trailers.
The whole industry, in my mind, has changed dramatically
every day. And technically, it's changing every day. I mean, now with AI, forget about it. I mean, it's like, you know.
Do you think that will lower the cost of the movies with AI?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, there's things that they're doing that are costing them almost. I mean, they're making trailers without having gone out and shooting anything.
Right.
You know, let's say to pitch and try to raise the money just by giving the basic premise and. You know, and it's literally like a trailer or a teaser that you can say, well, look, this is what the movie's going to look like. And it's
for investors, you mean?
Yeah, like for investors.
Yeah.
You know, but a lot of the movies already. I mean, look, they cut out one of the original things that they cut out was they used to have when they have crowd scenes. They used to have that many extras,
which is
now
crazy.
You're seeing like these movies like
with whole stadiums and stuff like
that. There's thousands of people.
You know that,
And you look close, it's like there's no nose, and there's eyes, and just Or when we did 61, HBO 61, they didn't have the technology to do that, and a lot of the fans in the stands were cardboard cutouts.
Wow.
So when I was walking around, I was seeing all these cardboard cutouts, next to the people.
So now they could just do it pretty much anywhere. Yeah.
There's so many things now when I'm doing stuff that I hate it sometimes when I'm on set and they're like, don't worry about it, we'll fix it in post. Don't worry about it, we'll fix it in post-production. I unless I know for sure that I can, I want to get it as a practical on set. But there are so many things that you can fix and change.
Edit and do all these things and change it without you even knowing about it for the finished product. Now, when are you doing more directing or acting now?
Well, right now I'm not. I have a TV series I'm working on as a regular called Gravesend. It's on Amazon Prime, and we just finished.
I just saw something. I was doing some research on it. What is that about?
It's about Brooklyn in the 1980s, mostly about the mob.
Okay.
In the 1980s, and I play FBI agent Christopher Morano.
Oh, you're on the other side this time.
The other side this time, yeah. And I'm sort of like, I'm Italian American, proud Italian American, and I just so embarrassed for Italian Americans that the mob and the Italian guys act the way. And
you want to do it. You want to do the right thing.
I want to bring them
for
down.
Italians.
And this season 3 that's coming up, William DeMeo, who wrote it, really wrote some great stuff for me. I mean, where you'll see stuff go on in an FBI agent's career, so to speak, that you'll never have seen in anything else. He really will do anything.
Where can we see that?
That's Amazon Prime.
That's Amazon Prime.
It also season 2 wound up on Tubi too. I think it's somewhere else, but I think it'll.
But Amazon Prime has the whole series. Very cool. Yeah. I'm going to check that out. I'm looking forward to.
So I'm not actively acting in anything right now. I have some things pending. I have a.
What do you like better, directing or acting?
It's hard to. It's hard to say what I.
Really?
Sometimes I'm really in one groove, one or the other. I think at this point, I probably prefer the directing. I mean, I don't want to say that because people are watching the show and they want to hire me as an actor. Like, all right,
listen, we're not. We're just. I'm asking him this. It's not the end of the world.
He's taking Zach off a paycheck. Forget him. Like he wants to direct. No, but so I love both. But directing again, it'll keep me active. I'm about to. Well, I can't talk about that yet. So I've just brought on to direct something, and I asked them before I came on, can I promote it? And they said, no, we haven't announced it yet. So I said, okay, we'll wait.
We had something very similar here. I had a country music guy on here, and he was on America's Got Talent, and he couldn't talk to me about it for months until I finally saw the show, and he was only on there for 20 seconds, but they would not allow him to say a single word. Now, I knew this kid, when he was singing outside of a diner and stuff like that, and I had him come to my camp in Maine, and I brought him down here. He played at a place. He was on the podcast. They would not. I mean, it was so tight-lipped, they would not send a word to. I said, listen, give me a hint so I can at least promote it when you're going to go play at this place that you're on it. He goes, I was on there. That's all he told me. But he didn't tell me he was only on there for like 20 seconds or something like that. But he did tell the whole, if you listen to the podcast, he told the whole story on what happened.
Yeah, they scare them. I had a young girl who was like almost like a niece to me, Lauren Massetti. She's a country singer, and I discovered her when she was like 14 years old, and started bringing her to my Italian feast in Tappan that I worked for 15 years, and she was on American Idol, and
that's what it was. American Idol. It was American Idol. Yeah.
And I was like, Lauren, you got to tell me what's going on. You got to tell me. And she's like, I can only tell you this, or I can't tell you that. I can't. And then we got to a certain point as we got close, and I got like, very tight-lipped. I knew, what was happening towards the end. But she goes, no, they scare us.
Did she get through? Did she get through or no?
She went very close.
He didn't get through.
She didn't win. But we were glad she didn't win, because what happens is as you go along, they start having you sign different contracts. So now this girl, she had already produced a number of albums on her own and owned a lot of her own music, and then they start saying that if you win, we own everything you've produced
for the next number of years.
So she said, you know what? If I would have won, the doors that may have opened because of that, I preferred to stay independent. She goes, so I'm glad. She should have really won. I mean, but she didn't.
They make it almost impossible. They're taking, he was explaining to me after the podcast that they were going to, they pigeonhole you where you could only play if they give you permission to play at certain things. You have to give a certain amount of. It's really
they own you.
They own you just by being on the show. A lot of people, believe it or not, once they find that out, they just say, I don't want to participate. I have a better chance of making it on my own than being on your show and owing you for the next it's like a 7-year contract or something like that, so
very strict.
Yeah, it's one of these things that no one ever hears about until you talk to somebody who's actually been in that. But so you're directing, you're acting, and you worked really hard for this. It's not like people see acting, they only see the superstars and they walk around and they think it's easy stuff. But there's a whole group of people that work day to day, hardworking people that have to go out for these scenes. Sometimes the short scenes, sometimes the longer scenes, and it's got to be a grind after a while. I mean, I know you love it, but the disappointments in the business when you don't get to certain parts, like I said before, the time gaps that you're on, you're not really sure when the next part. I mean, it probably causes some stress in your life on, and not only that, the people around you, because, you're being stressed out too. Most people go to work every day. They know what they're going to make. They know what they're going to do, good, bad, or indifferent. But this is kind of a really rolling the dice every time you go out there. And I don't know how you deal with that on a regular basis. You must really love it to be able to do that and just not say at one point, hey, listen, I'm going to go right back to the restaurant business. At least I know I'm going to get a paycheck every month. But that's not an easy business either.
Oh, no, heck no. I very, very long time ago, I came to terms with auditioning and letting go of it. And so the level of disappointment, it's really with me, it's become very minuscule because I trained myself a long time ago. We go in it very early on, you were like, oh God, I hope I get this.
Right.
And then after that, I was like, you can go, forget about it, move on to the next thing. If it comes, it comes. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And there's so much rejection that you have to deal with. And especially now, because before, and I'll tell you why, before COVID, let's say, so you had to be, let's say, there's a lot of New York shows like Law & Order, let's give, for example. So the casting director for Law & Order knows mostly who the New York actors are that are coming in, have been in and out, and this and that. So let's say they have a role, it's a supporting role on an episode. So they would call you in for an audition. They would probably call in maybe 12 to 15.
That many?
Wait till I finish. 12 to 15, let's say, actors for this one particular role that are, let's say they're not names, like good supporting, And from there, they would narrow it down they would do a callback where they would, let's say they would see 3 or 4, where the director would then come in and see you and make a decision. But the thing was, you had to be there for that audition 2 days later, let's say, and then the callback would, let's say, be 2 days later. And then if you got the part, you were probably shooting a week later, and you had to do a fitting like 2 days before that. So you really had to be in New York or in the surrounding area, tri-state area. But now, after what happened with COVID, they started this thing called self-tapes. So when you audition now, 99.9% of the time, my agent will say you have this audition, they send you the sides from the script, and you do a self-tape. So actors now have had to become technically versed on having a backdrop, whether they're recording on their iPhone or a camera, it's a little bit of lighting, record it, transfer it. I don't do. I go have somebody else do it for me, but most actors do it themselves. And record it and transfer it and put it into the computer and upload it into wherever it's going to go. So now they always say you need to be a local hire, which means we're not going to pay for your transportation or to put you up. So you have actors now that could be submitting that live in Indiana, New Mexico, Canada, anywhere, Canada. You know what I'm saying? Texas. And it's just a press of a button. So when they see the submissions that the agents submit for this particular role, let's see him. Cost them nothing. Their assistant just has to push a button, and they know that this person is going to work on it for 2 days and send them the best possible, audition they can. And from there they select. And when they select, well, if they select you and you don't live in New York, you got to figure it out.
All right, let me ask you a question.
So I'm up against, instead of 12, 15
guys from New York,
500
it's guys that live in New York.
It's really it's hurt.
So you have an agent. You have an agent, right, that represents you. Is that how this works? So they call the agents, and the agents represent you on all these calls.
Well, there's something called the breakdown services, which the agents only agents and managers can apply to. It's not like anybody could get them, and it's a breakdown of all the roles that are being cast, and then the agent will submit you to be considered. Okay. And they'll review the submissions and then consider. And if they want to have you come in and read for the role, they'll tell the agent, we'd like to see him or her, and then they'll let us know, and then we have to send the self-tape in.
Okay.
Sometimes sometimes it's just an offer. Like I said, they'll call my agent, or I get a lot of calls. A lot of my work I've done was like direct. Like I heard from the director or the producer, and they either worked with me previously or they knew my work for something else and said, hey, we have this project coming, would you be interested in doing this, and blah, blah, blah. And then I'll be like, if I say yes.
Would you still have to audition for it?
No, these are offers.
Okay, so these are offers. They want you for this role. You don't have to audition for it. There's no upfront time. You're going to walk on. You're going to read your lines and walk on set, and hopefully you hit it.
Well, they're going to go. Then I'll say, okay, well, I'd like to do whatever it is. I'll say, but you have to now talk to my agent because I don't want to talk numbers. And then my agent will work out the terms of the contract, everything from how much I'm going to get paid to transportation to set, whatever.
Does anybody represent themselves, or everybody has agents?
No, it's very hard to get an agent, especially now. So probably a lot of actors do. I wouldn't even say represent themselves. They just don't have an agent or a manager, so it's much harder to try to get the work. And even with these breakdown services I told you about, a lot of these roles are, already cast. Like sometimes they just have to put it out there to show the union they're looking for this talent. But yet, they already got somebody's son in mind for it, or someone's daughter, or someone's niece, or the investor's daughter, or, you know what I mean? There's so much of that's already pre-cast.
So what you're saying is that it's not really about your ability. A lot of times it's about who you know. So
much of it.
Okay, like everything else in life.
I mean, the nepotism runs rampant.
Like everything else. So this is no different than any place else in life. All right. I just wanted to make sure
it's just different because there's so much ego attached to this. There's so much people ready to give their right arm to get in the movies and be an actor or do this or that. If it's just to get a good job, like somewhere. Young people are like, well, I could take it or leave it. They feel like they could picky or choosy.
Especially these days.
Their father's going to help them get a job. And it's like, Dad, I don't know if I want to do that. But when it's something like this, it's like they're all over it. So even me, when I cast as a director, if I have somebody for a role that's, let's say you're perfect for this role. I don't know you, but you're perfect for it. And then there's someone else that's just as good or almost as good, but yet it's one of my investors' sons. What am I going to do?
I don't know.
I got to give it to this guy.
Wow.
Poor you. But, I mean, that's just, I'm the victim in this often sometimes too. I'll see roles that I didn't get, and I'm like, how did I not get that?
See, people don't understand, a lot of that stuff that goes into it. So, you could be grade A1 actor and not get roles just because you're not the person that they already decided that was going to get that role.
People buy roles.
Oh no! So tell me about that.
There's stuff being cast, and if people know people, it's like they're raised. Let's say it's in the independents, they're raising money, and it's like, some people will be, well, I'll put in, what comes along with, let's say, investing is you're going to get
I'll
this
put
part.
$250,000 in as long as you put
Well, I don't know about 250,000, but
So, let's say you put 100,000.
I'd want to lead for 250,000.
Let's say you put 100,000. You got to put my nephew in this part.
Yeah, this thing,
Okay.
People, or for themselves, they keep it hush hush, and they want to look like they got cast, and so that they could go to try to get an agent, and listen, there's something that wasn't really happening before that's happening now is there's a lot of people that are retiring, and they want to do something else, and they're like, you know what? I think I always do. Everybody told me I always missed my calling. Everybody told me I got a great look. Everybody, they all say this. Retired cops, they retire with these great pensions, and health benefits and all this, and they got nothing to do, and they start doing a little extra work, and the next thing you know, they got a headshot. Next thing you know, they're calling themselves actors. And they're in the mix.
Wow. That I didn't see coming.
Oh, yeah, there's so much of it. It's like unbelievable.
Wow. So it's a tough business. You've been in it a long time. I mean, you're a survivor in a business that has wiped out tens of thousands of people very quickly. But you've been able to survive in this business because you're authentic. I've watched some of your stuff, and you're very authentic in the characters that you play. And I think that comes through on the film. You were able to do other things, direct. You did independent films, so you weren't against doing anything, and that allowed you to stay in this business for a long time. What's in the future for you? What are you looking at in the future? How long do you want to do this? Do you want to go more into the producer directing area, or do you want to stay with the acting going forward?
Well, the producing kind of just comes. I kind of got forced into producing.
Oh, okay.
So I don't aspire to produce in the way of raising money. I mean, I'm a skilled producer, I think, but when you're directing, you just can't help but be a part of the producing process. So I'm not interested in. I've been a producer on a number of things where because I was consulted.
Why don't you define the producer for the audience, because it's important that they understand what a producer actually does.
Well, director's pretty specific.
Right? No.
Right. There's different levels of producer. There's executive producers that are either have raised the money, put their own money in it, or have attached name talent to it.
Okay.
So those are executive producers. And then producers, some are raising money also, and some are handling they're hands-on with actually hiring people and helping with the casting and working very closely with the director.
So they have a dual role.
Yeah, well, some of them are all producers wear many hats, but they hold a producer, and they're hiring and firing and dealing with the lawyer and the production accountants, and then some producers are working just more on a creative level. So there's different producers that are fit into different.
So when
slots.
you see it at the end of a film, producer, assistant producer,
you'll see executive producers, co-producer is a little more diluted from a producer. You see associate producer, which associate producer, it could be some of the people that went beyond the call of duty.
Okay.
They might have been a production manager or assistant director, and they were just, they show so dove into the project. They went so beyond the call of the duty that you're like, you deserve an associate producer.
We're going to give you that title.
It helps build their IMDb profile.
Their resume. Yeah. So,
exactly.
So that's. I'm glad you explained that, because I can't tell you how many movies I've seen, and I'm saying, I wonder what this guy actually did in this movie.
Yeah.
It gets convoluted after a while. There's so many people involved in these movies, especially major films, and the idea of finding a place and working as long as you did and staying in this game, it just shows your fortitude and your abilities, because I have to say, you've been in it a long time. How long you been in this game?
I don't want to give away my age. I try not to, but it's a long. Can we curse on this? Can we curse on the show?
You can do whatever you want. You can do whatever you want. Good. That's good enough answer for me. But,
I feel very blessed to have been able to make a living, doing the things that I do. But I've also been involved, again, I was in restaurant business twice. I was also involved in a lot of promotional things. So I would put together different, like Sopranos nights, like appearances at casinos where I would get like a number of cast members, and then the casino would have a special night
Right.
where the high rollers would, we used to do a lot with Mount Airy Casino in the Poconos. We've done a lot in, at Foxwoods and Mohegan Sun. So I was always involved in some other, other things that were related, to the
So
industry.
basically, you were able to stay close to home too. You've been on the East Coast most of
I love going to the West Coast.
Right.
I've worked on movies on the West
Right.
Coast. Been there for many, and I love going to California. But I don't go as much as I used to. And I feel blessed to have. I think if I did. My father didn't want me to go into this business. He's like, "What do you do? You want to be an actor?" He said, "Are you kidding me? There's so many other things you could do. Don't you want to be able to have a security?
Yeah, absolutely.
Raise a family and have And he was right. So
No, I wanted to, this is what I'm trying to get through to the audience, that, their idea of an actor and a real actor like you are so far apart than what they really think's going on. They see somebody on TV or they see somebody in the movies and they think they appear there, magically. There's no magic to it. It's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of determination. And when that should be next to your name when it comes to acting, because you've done it all. I mean, you've really covered a large spectrum of this business that, like I said before, has, savagely killed a lot of people that they tried and didn't make it because of the work involved in it. So, it was funny how your name came up, and then right after your name came up and I talked to you, or we were texting back and forth, Mike Lawler came in here and did a podcast.
Yeah, Mike.
And he sat here and he goes, "Oh, I know him." I said, "Really?" I said, I'm trying to figure out, because I was still doing my research at the time. But when I did it, then it all came to me. I recognized who you were and stuff like that. But I really appreciate you coming for the podcast. And, I just wanted to give everybody an insight, what it takes and what you did and how you did it. And, I respect what you did, and I hope you continue to do it. And I'm going to be looking forward to seeing everything you do. All right? Thank you very much for coming.
Well,
I
thanks a lot.
appreciate it, man.
Thanks a lot for having
All right?
me, Brian. It was a pleasure to be here.